is Avery and John. We're back and we have good news today. So, you want to tell them?
We have officially harvested our first round of honey.
Woohoo! We have honey! And how much did we get?
We got 55 pounds.
We're happy with that. We're excited.
Very happy with that.
It's been a really big weekend for us. And so today we wanted to look at kind of 5 learnings that we have derived from our extraction experience. So get ready, we're excited.
Yeah.
So our first learning was that after we uncapped the honey, we put those cappings, which are beeswax, into a colander, and we were just shocked at how much honey dripped out into our bowl through the colander. So
still dripping.
It is still dripping. We are on day 2 or 3 here, and we're still getting honey, and so it's like it continues to come. So that's definitely something that we will do again. Little bunny.
There's a bee.
We will definitely continue to do that, and now we'll have beeswax that we can also do things with. So that was our first learning. Our second one?
Our second learning was when we pulled the supers off. Originally thought we were going to have at least 3 supers that we were going to extract from, but as we pulled those frames of honey out, it was evident that the bees had not fully capped all of the frames. So a third box was basically, it was completely drawn out, completely full, but the frames were only about half to 3/4 capped over. And my beekeeping mentor had advised me that it would just be best to not extract those out of risk of bottling honey that wasn't the right moisture content. So I feel like we kind of missed out on a third of what we were going to be able to bring in just because of that. So having something to analyze the moisture content in the honey and having a means to just blow out or fan out or dry the uncapped honey would really help boost numbers in a condition that's not perfectly optimized. It's highly unlikely that every single box is going to have every frame capped over, and we need to have something to account for that so that when we're pulling off and assessing how many supers we've got a way to handle that.
How long does that process take to dry out unfinished honey?
I think it would only take a couple days.
Okay.
In the right humidity environment, a nice dry environment, it's warm. I think it would only take a few more days to get it dried out to the right moisture content.
And how many pounds do you think were left in that third?
I think we had at least 20 to 25 pounds in there that could have come out if we had the ability to dry it and then measure it to make sure it's the right moisture content.
We're learning as we go, aren't we?
Absolutely.
I think a third learning that I'm not surprised about, but John and I kept talking all weekend about how people make it fun. So we're extracting honey. We used a very manual process, but we had our bee mentor here, and he was just giving us some confidence and tips and showing us the tricks. John's dad came out with grandpa, and then afterwards we were sharing our honey, doing honey samples with people in our family, and we're just like, man, people are great. Like, people make it fun. So that's something we want to continue is, okay, you could do this work by yourself, you could do it and get it done, but how do we make it more fun? And people definitely made it more fun for us. So
yeah, everybody's naturally curious about honey extraction. I don't think a lot of people have been able to be a part of something like that. So
I haven't. That was my first
There was a lot of interest for people to come over. I actually had to tell some people that they couldn't come over just because of limited space.
I'm gonna have to get them next time.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a cool experience. So that was our third learning from this weekend.
The other thing that we learned about that was, I guess, telling is I had held off on buying a honey extractor. The main reason being we want to expand obviously next year. I wanted to skip buying a hand crank extractor. I've talked to a lot of people that, they started out small and then they started to grow up, and they almost all kind of regret getting the hand crank extractor. And at the same time, there's not a whole lot of honey that was going to be harvested this year, so I couldn't really quite justify buying a honey extractor this year. So that being said, was holding off, used a hand crank extractor this year. It worked out great, perfect for what we had. But if I think about expanding this apiary up to a higher quantity of hives, want to have a piece of equipment that can do that with some assistance via an electric motor. The other thing that seemed like it was a really big deal that I had not thought about was the bottom of the extractor has, if the bottom is flat, there's a trapped volume of honey that's at the bottom of that extractor that, the honey gate's mounted, and then the bottom of the floor is just below that, and so you have the whole diameter, or the whole area of the honey extractor that's got a lot of honey left behind. And honey flows so slow. I couldn't believe how slow that honey flowed. And so you're in there with a spatula trying to scrape it out and get every last drop. But because of time, constraints and wanting to get the job done, getting the equipment moved out and cleaned up, we ended up just saying, all right, we got it clean enough. And I really think that we left at least probably a pint, maybe 2 pints of honey just in equipment, pans that we were uncapping into, the bottom of the extractor. It's a similar realization that we were having on the wax cappings. I don't even think I realize how much we've gotten rid of, because the wax cappings, I had no idea, just in a small colander of wax cappings, how we would have 2 to 3 pints of honey just drain out of that over the series of a couple days. So I'm really going to be looking for an extractor that's got some kind of a conical bottom in it. Is something that's going to be important to me, because then I can just let that sit overnight and it can just naturally drain out into a filtering bucket.
Yeah, I like that we learn this now before we purchase something that we're going to have for a long time.
Right.
So I think we made the right decision, borrowing our bee mentor's equipment, and be very thankful that he shared with us. I think it's going to pay off, because now we know what we do want and what we don't want.
Right.
To some extent. So
yeah,
I'm glad we did that.
Yeah, I am too, and I'm glad that he let us do that as well.
Yep. People matter.
Yeah.
Our fifth learning that we were reflecting on had to do with when we were taking our honey for people to sample. So we've got tulip poplar honey here. It's pretty dark, as you can probably see. And so people are tasting it and they're like trying to understand what flavor they're tasting. And so we learned that being able to articulate the honey that gets pulled off this specific batch, being able to articulate that for folks, I think is a big deal. So this honey tastes very bold to us.
Yeah.
It's not bland by any means. Another word we came up with, complex. And I wish that we would have had those words before, and to be able to explain to people who, like us, are not honey connoisseurs yet, but are wanting to know, kind of understand what this tastes like.
The use of the term different than what you would get in the store is not a well-received comment. People don't like different. They automatically assume that it's a negative thing, and so we really need to make sure that as we're marketing this to other people, that they will understand this is a bold, very diverse honey versus what you would buy in the store, which is typically just clover honey.
I was trying to think of all the words that we are choosing not to use. So unique, different. What are some other words that didn't work well when we were trying to explain this to folks?
Well, one, it's not a word, but it's just a lack of words to
silence.
describe. Just like, well, I don't know. You know, it's just you gotta have a plan when you're marketing this stuff.
Yeah. Along those same lines, when we were giving honey samples, you know, we brought over the very last bit that we scraped off that was less filtered. So to me, I like the less filtered because there's more health benefits in my mind. I'm getting the true raw deal with a little bit of wax in there, like just a little.
It wasn't
bits.
filtered.
It wasn't filtered.
It was just dripped right off of the
dripped. That's a good one.
wax cappings.
So we bring this over to people and they're like, oh, we know this is from your house. Like, we know this is homegrown, right? And so we think that next time maybe we won't bring that bit of honey over to folks for them to try for the first time. Maybe we will bring the clean and clear, and we'll bring our best. So that was just a learning. We shouldn't have brought the last bit. We should have brought the first or the best bit for people to sample. So I think that helps build confidence in our ability to produce something that people are going to eat. So
yeah, we brought it over in this honey bear, and the whole head of the honey bear had the wax chips that had floated to the top, and people just look at it and they're like, oh, you know, versus this is all gone through the filter. It's very clean. It's very aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, so we will be bringing that honey next time for people to sample. So those were our 5 learnings from this last weekend. There's lots of learning going on, lots of good, lots of exciting. So that was a good time this past weekend.
Yeah.
So I did have a question for you, John. So as we've been sharing with our community that it's been 3 years, and we'll link that video below where we go through kind of the last 3 years of beekeeping, and this being our first year with actual honey. Like, what was your favorite part of the whole honey extraction process?
Favorite part of the whole honey extraction process maybe started actually before the extraction even started. It was seeing that honey actually get stored up in the honey supers in the hive, actually seeing actual product being made by the bees and knowing, okay, this is actually going to happen. And then fast forward to the extraction day, cutting those cappings off, you know, and just letting that wax drop to the bottom, and then having all of that honey kind of ooze down was really unbelievable.
I was gonna say that was my favorite part. Again, this is my first extraction, and so you're just watching that honey. It's just gorgeous. Like, that was my word. I'm like, I could stare at this, mesmerizing. I could stare at this all day. Like, it was stunning to watch.
Yep.
So that was my favorite part with the uncapping. So
yeah,
glad we're
aligned.
We enjoyed both the same parts.
Yeah.
What's something you're looking forward to the next time that we?
The next time, I didn't heed the advice of several people that told me about keeping mite numbers low going into the springtime. My mite numbers were well under the acceptable range, but everybody just said you need to get them as low as you can. Don't just sit there and wait. And so what I kind of discovered is about halfway through the season, one of my honey hives just completely stopped making any excess honey stores, and when I checked them for mites, they were getting up in the 4.5% range, and I knew it was time to pull those honey supers off, call it a season for that hive, and deploy the mite treatments. So I think, you know, it's absolutely critical that you've got a healthy colony that's got low mite counts so that they can work the entire flowering season and get the maximum amount of honey brought in.
Yeah, and we're learning, right?
Yeah.
I think for me, I am excited about offering either more products and or different containers volumes. So I think we're still getting a grasp and trying to gather data about, hey, how much do you want, at what price, like what are people willing to buy, what do they want to buy? We want to be excited about that. And so I think that's what I'm excited about next time is, you know, what will we add to how we store our honey. So
yeah, I think we need to definitely add. Right now we have this 1/2 pound and then this 1.5 pound, and I think just based on people's reactions, I think the 1 pound is going to be a magic
Yep.
container. It's, you know, it can be priced such that it just takes a single bill, like a $10 bill, and you've got yourself a pound of honey. That seems like a lot of people carry 10s around. You know, this is some kind of a breakdown. Less than 10. This is more than 10, but less than 20. So I think that's
What's in the middle?
what's in the middle.
Yeah,
is what we need.